I have these 3 plots, and I've got a couple over there. I kind of overdid it with plots. My name's Luella, and I started working in the community garden this year. It has gone on for, I think, at least a year before I got involved. And this year we did a lot of work on building these beds and making the paths in between them to really clean up the garden. I had 3 plots. This one behind me are strawberries. They're all June-bearing strawberries. And as you can see, there's a lot of runners coming out and over and between the rows. So the plants have really grown this year. And in the spring, all of the plants that were planted this year should have berries on them. The runners I'll have to take out because there's way too many plants for this amount of space. So anyone in the community garden or anyone who wants to start a strawberry bed could take these runners off to the side, or some of the runners I take out between the plants, and start a new strawberry bed from those little plants. Down behind me is another bed that is now cleared out. Afraid that the frost was going to take my tomatoes. I have already pulled them out, taken them out, and the green tomatoes are still ripening in my house. In this bed, I've just cut the kale. Looks like this, beautiful green leaves of kale. And now I'm working on just some little things that are coming back a second time. I had celery that was growing about this high, which has been harvested, but I cut it down at the ground, and now I've got new leaves, so I can pick these leaves, take them home, and use them fresh. Parsley, the same thing has happened, and I'll be cutting this chard today. It looks good and ready, and what I can't eat I'll be freezing for the winter months. I still have in this bed a zucchini plant, a squash plant, and some carrots that were planted late, but carrots can stay in the ground for quite some time. So that's kind of where I'm at. A lot of people have been trying to get their beds cleared up before the frost and the snow comes, so that we're not working in really cold weather. And a lot of our produce goes to the Bonner County Food Bank. Anyone who has extra produce that they can't use just takes it over to the food bank, and it's available for people who can use it. So I don't know what else I can tell you. In the other 2, I have cucumbers on the far end in the corner, and you can see the leaves over there are turning brown. That's from light frosts that have happened. Cucumber season is pretty much ending now, but there's still a few stragglers, so we keep it going. And I had a variety of things in the next little one. The 2 in front here, after the 2 big ones, the 2 smaller beds belong to the teen center, and the youth were planting and using the produce from those 2 beds. They have a zucchini in there that is the most prolific zucchini I've ever seen. It's planted right on the very corner of the bed, and there must have been dozens of zucchini on 2 plants. It was unbelievable watching that grow. I wasn't here when this one actually started last year, so I think that it took a core group of people, Pat Wentworth, a lady named Catherine, and 2 other people, Michelle, somebody else. They were kind of a core group and worked with the Sandpoint Transition Initiative to get it started. They've had some donation from the city to use this property, and they just did a nice job of organizing to work it out so people could come in here be able to garden if they don't have a place to garden at home. I found the 4x8 over on that side to work much better than these 8x8, just because it's difficult to get into the middle of your bed. But they're all workable. And if anybody wants to join in with the gardening in this community garden, they would be able to start renting their bed for next season at the beginning of November. This has been an experimental year for me, and I know that next year I want to plant a fair amount of peas. They were probably the thing I enjoyed the most fresh out of the garden. So I want to do peas and carrots and tomatoes for sure. And I think it just depends on what are the favorites for anyone who wants to garden. Some of the people who always lived here, they have their ways of knowing when to plant. For me, it was experimental. I planted my tomatoes too early and they really got stunted. The peppers got stunted from the kind of weather we had early in the season that got so cold. But I've learned this year that, let's see, how does this go? When the lilacs are starting to bud, you can plant your peas. And when your lilacs got leaves on them, potatoes would come next. And once the lilac trees are looking pretty good, then you can start planting the rest of your things in the garden. I've heard people say, look at the mountains and see when the snow is gone. So people who have done it for years have their ways of knowing. And I think one of the most beautiful things about this garden is that there's usually somebody else around who has learned a lot of things that we learn from each other. That's been the beauty of it for me. That's been really good. You can get through it with a wheelbarrow. You can walk through here. We'll have to keep it up every year to be able to keep the weeds down, but it makes it look so good and it makes it really versatile to be able to have that space. Everybody waters their own, but when we're gone, we usually have met the other people around us, so we help each other. That way we're not like anchored to our garden for watering purposes. And the city has helped us out with the use of the water. So we've been able to keep the plants growing quite nicely. Not quite enough sun this year. It wasn't the year for tomatoes. Even if you look at the farmer's market, a lot of the tomatoes have marks on them. A lot of tomatoes are splitting from rain that's been raining on them. It's been tough, but there's nothing better than a tomato off the vine. There is one bed that is all herbs, and that has been planted just by everybody together. So people can come in as they need their herbs. They're all in one place. A lot of them are perennial, yes. I've just enjoyed it tremendously. I couldn't do this where I live, and it's given me an opportunity to get back to gardening, which is something I grew up with. Yeah, it does. It was nice.
On that subject of tools, one of the things that's happened in the city of Portland, where they're developing community gardens in neighborhoods, is that they've set up a tool lending library. So people bring all these tools and then people can just check out tools so that everybody doesn't have to own everything. Yeah. So there's all kinds of innovative ideas going on about sharing and cooperation for this. So somebody's donated a lawnmower, somebody donates, the rakes and shovels and spades that you need, and you can just use them for free.
This was donated. The shed was donated. I mean, we were really very fortunate. But all the tools, the hoses will go in there, the wheelbarrow will go in there. And you know, we post things there. We haven't gotten a bulletin board yet, but it's kind of a catch-all. And people can leave their buckets, you know, their garden buckets in there if they so choose. But it's just a handy thing. And our compost pile over there is, we're going to get a compost bin built next year. But that's a compost pile. It'll be usable. We've got a few more things that we need donated.
Mine doesn't look like this, but...
Did you get any?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
But we didn't
Yeah,
get it.
okay.
It wasn't quite like that.
No, those are side shoots, most of those.
This is definitely a learning experience.
We've done very well. The community has really pitched in. It's been a wonderful experience.